As I speak, the United States and its partners are striving to find a political solution to the terrible conflict in Syria, where hundreds of thousands have died and millions more have been rendered homeless, displaced, if not refugeed. In recent weeks, we've been able to reduce the violence and increase access to humanitarian aid. And ironically, and perhaps uncomfortably to some, it has come about through significant cooperation between the United States and Russia that co-chaired an effort to bring people to Vienna, and then co-chaired an effort to pass a United Nations Security Council resolution, and now co-chairs the cessation of hostilities task force that works every day in Geneva, and the daily work of a high-level team in Amman, Jordan, in order to keep this in place and try to keep driving very difficult, complex group of players towards the Geneva negotiations. Our plan is now to push as hard as possible for a transition in governance that can bring peace and eventually be able to enable refugees to return to their homes. That's the real solution to the problem of migration in Europe. But it's only partially because many of the migrants are now coming from other countries, and so it's a broader economic challenge on a broader basis, which is part of what I'll be talking about today. At the same time, we have mobilized a 66-member international coalition that is taking the fight directly to the murderous thugs of Daesh, killing its leaders, shrinking its territory, cutting its supply lines, and bombing the revenue sources on which it depends. I just, as I mentioned, returned from Iraq, and it is clear, and I say this with all the chastening of a war I fought in which we always heard reports of progress. And I look at these things pretty carefully as a consequence, but I can tell you that it is clear on the battlefield we are making progress. Daesh has not taken one territory, one community, and held it since last May. And we've recovered 40% of the territory that they had claimed. And we will defeat Daesh. And to make the United States, the region, and the world safer, we also led an international negotiation to produce an agreement, which Mickey referred to, that is blocking all of Iran's pathways to a nuclear weapon. I know it was contested here, and it should be. I mean, these things are not simple. But the fact is that we now have Iran signed up to the additional protocol of the IAEA, which requires lifetime access to any place of suspicion. And we have an unbelievable rollback and dismantling of their program that exists today. And despite the predictions of many to the contrary, Iran is abiding by that agreement. We led the way in negotiating the first ever global agreement. More than 190 countries strong came together in Paris to mitigate the harmful impacts of climate change. And we are also working very, very closely with our friends in Colombia as they seek to end this hemisphere's longest-running civil war. We're working closely with Saudi Arabia and the UAE to bring the war in Yemen to a close. We just secured a ceasefire in the last days. We hope to be at the table within a week or two to continue negotiations. We have led efforts, together with our Italian friends, to stand up a government in Libya and go after Daesh.